Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution.
Father, forgive us. Can you have mercy? Please have mercy on us. Please have mercy on us. We repent of our sins, won't do it again. Deliver us from this evil, chosen people. Please have mercy on us. Have mercy on us. We repent of our sin, won't do it again. Deliver us from this evil, chosen people. Yeah, please, yeah. Forgive us, fight for us, forgive us. Chosen people.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mercy Seat. I am your host tonight, YaNi'YAH, and it is such an honor and a pleasure to be here with you all tonight. Look, we have a good show going on, always a good show going on. And tonight, we are going to be talking about storms. I don't know how you have those storms in your life. I'm not talking about the storms when the rain is coming and the wind is blowing. Not just that, but the storms in our lives. Storms are a part of life, but how we respond to them reveals the condition of our faith. In this powerful lesson, we will examine the account of how the Yahawasha and his disciples during the stormy sea, and the discovery of how life trials often become our greatest classroom. So together, we will explore why storms come, what they reveal to us, how to find peace in the middle of chaos, and how to trust Yah when circumstances seem overwhelming. So if nothing else, look, get your pen, get your word, whatever you need, sit back and relax as we go forth in this teaching, right? So the truth is that storms comes to everybody's life. Everybody at some point, time or another, experience storms, whether those storms are physical, emotional, financial, or spiritual. Yet every storm carries a lesson if we are willing to learn. I'm sure that there are many individuals who have had their times in life when you just wanted to just throw in the towel, when you just wanted to just give up, when you got to that place where you were questioning everything. Well, see, there came those times in the when we are looking in the Word, when the Messiah and the disciples were on the boat, right? And when they were on the boat, there was a great storm. And when that great storm came about, what happened, right? So I want to open up with prayer before we just totally dive in. And we're going to thank each and every last person for an opportunity to study our word. We want to do that. So, Father, we come to you and we say thank you. Thank you for your love, your grace, and your mercy. Thank you for this opportunity. We want you to open our eyes that we may see, our ears so that we may hear, and our hearts that we may receive. Give us the wisdom, understanding, knowledge, and discernment. Help us to trust you and every season of life, especially during the storms. Let this lesson strengthen our faith and draw us closer to you. And so we want to be able to have that opportunity, right? So, what is our lesson objectives for today? By the end of this lesson, you should be able to understand the purpose of storms, identify what storms reveal about our faith, learn how to trust Yah during difficult seasons, discover how to respond instead of react, and apply biblical principles during trials. You know, there's a lesson to be learned with everything, right? And it's just like we're learning how to ride a bike. What is the lesson that you learn? Make sure you hold on to the handlebars. But in the beginning, you have somebody that's on the side of you, right? And they're helping you, guide you through and showing you how to hold on, how to pedal, how to steer, how to pay attention, right? Because you don't want to be learning how to ride a bike and your focus is on everything but what you're doing. And when you first start, it for some people it may be terrifying, right? To think about falling over and scarring up your knees and your elbows. But when that is happening, there are those times when you get your little helmet, right? Back in the day, you did it. But later on, I guess people got so many concussions and scars and everything. But they then gave what is called the helmet. And you put the helmet on so that if you fall, you won't hit your head and hurt yourself, right? Because you don't want to hit your head on a brick or something, and then you end up being unconscious. Or in some cases, a person could lose their lives, right? Give you the elbow pads and the knee pads, so you're protecting yourself. And that's why it's so important for us to put on the whole armor of the Most High. We want to be armored up so that we're able to stand against those things that the enemy is trying to attack us with. So we want to be able to get to a place where it's like we're protecting ourselves. Okay. So in the midst of that, I want to go to a foundation scripture, right? And we're going to go to, and we're going to actually go through Mark 4:35 through 41. I want you to really read that entire passage, right? I wish you could read it before we even get started, but I want you to read that passage. But what I want to do is this key verse, right? And the key verse that I want to is Mark 4:39. And he arose and rebuked the wind and said unto the sea, peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm, right? So what is our teaching point? Number one, storms come to bring obedience. If nothing else, when you have a situation in your life, it is very, very important that we learn from our lessons, right? We should learn from our mistakes. We should learn from the things that may happen in our lives. We need to learn from that because experience is the best teacher. And if not, for some individuals, you know, you may say, you ain't learned yet. But once we get to that place of being able to learn, being able to understand what it is that we should be doing and what it is that we shouldn't be doing. When we get to that place, we should look at life and look at our situations, and we then are able to say, I must do better. In Mark 4:35, it says, and the same day when the even was come, he said unto them, let us pass over unto the other side. I believe that there was already a plan in place. There was already something that needed to take place. And this was a test. What about your tests and your trials in your lives? Are you ready for that? Are you ready for the test? It's almost like preparing yourself when you're in school, whether it's grammar school, high school, or college. When you're preparing yourself for the test, you have the work assignment, you have what is needed, and you're studying that. And you study that so that you can understand what it is that the teacher has given. So your teachers are teaching, you're studying the test. Why? Because you want to pass the test. Are you able to pass the test of the storms of your life? John 16:33 says, and in the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. The disciples were in a storm because they obeyed the Messiah. And many people assume that if they were serving Yah, they should never have to experience anything. But how do we know if we really truly are serving? How do we know if we're really giving him our all? How do we know that we're loving him the way that we should be loving him? How do we know those things if we never have a trial, if we never have a moment in our lives? Because when that storm came, when that storm hit, the disciples was able to prove otherwise. So even with all of the teaching, all of the experience, all of the moments, there came a time when the disciples proved what their faith really looked like. So in the midst of that, we have to understand that we have to trust with everything that we have. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the storm, right? So the storm came while they were doing exactly what they were told to do, right? We're going to go over on the other side. And the presence of the storm does not mean that that the Father isn't present. That's not what it means. Sometimes when we're going through the storm, it just means that we have to trust that he has us no matter what is going on. And I don't know anybody that hasn't had that opportunity of experiencing a storm. I have. I've been through some things in my life, and I'm sure other individuals here can say that y'all been through some things in your life that just made you want to just give up, throw in the towel. But we have to stop assuming every hardship is a punishment. And we need to ask yourself, what is it that the Father is teaching me? Or what do I need to learn through this trial? And have you came to a place where you have mistaken hardship for abandonment? So when we think about the storm, I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk a little bit about the storm. Let's talk about what the disciples went through. When the disciples were sitting in the boat and the storm came, right? And the ship, the waves is high, it's beating up against everything. We just literally just going through. But the Messiah was sitting at the bottom, laying at the bottom of the boat. Not only was he laying at the bottom of the boat, he was asleep. He was resting. So there was two things that was going on. One thing that was going on was there was a bad storm. The second thing that was going on was the Messiah resting at the bottom of the boat. And if we really had to think hard on that, let's think about this. Chaos all over the place, something is going on, and you at home, right? You and your family, you at home. And since I'm gonna talk this, I'm gonna talk to the women. I'm talking to the women. And your husband is in there and he's laying down resting. And it seems like everything going on is everything that can happen is happening. and he's not responding, you're going to be looking at him like he's crazy. What are you doing? I remember, I'm going to give an example. I remember one day, I'm in the house. My husband was in the bedroom. He was asleep. And I'm hearing this thumpity thump, 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 thump. I'm like, what in the world is that? I'm like, whatever that thump, thump in the kitchen, it couldn't possibly be a mouse. The cat was with me. So what is making this loud noise and this thumping sound? So I went and woke up my husband. I said, honey, there is something in that kitchen. And whatever it is, it's not small. He went into the kitchen, there was nothing. So he was like, no, it ain't nothing. He went back in there and he laid down. But as he laid down, he so happened to hear the thump of the thump, thump, thump. And he got up and come to find out it was a squirrel in the house. And me and the cat, we jetted up out of there. We gone. But the next thing I know, it sounded like the old Batman movie. If y'all remember the old Batman movie when they got the fight and you heard the bing, bang, boom, wham, you know. And after all of that, come to find out, like I said, it was a squirrel. A squirrel had gotten through the hole through the dryer, and the squirrel was in there, and my husband went in there and tore that squirrel up with that baseball bat. So he calmed the storm that sounded like it was in our home. But this storm was different. This storm was something that made the disciples ask a question. And that is, are you going to allow us to die? You going to allow us to perish? And the Messiah got up and he said, peace, be still. And the storm and the sea became calm. When do we decide in our lives when we're going to speak to our storms and say, peace, be still? Because even when he looked at the disciples, he said to them, O ye of little faith. Do we continue to allow our faith to override or to allow our pain, our situations to override? Or will we take that time in that moment to be able to say, I trust you, Father. I trust that you will bring me out of this situation just like you brought me out of other situations. I'm sure if I sat back and I asked each and every last one of you all, have you been in a storm? Are you in a storm? Are you in a situation where you just know there is nothing seemingly that you can do, that you know for a fact you have to trust the Father to get you out of this situation? That nobody else can have an answer for you with this situation. So whether you have been there, you're in there, or you may get to that place. I don't know. You know, maybe you're a younger person. Maybe you haven't experienced anything. But like the elder people used to say, just keep living. Just keep living. And that day and that time is going to come when that storm is going to be raging. And the same Father that brought mama, grandmama, and others out of that storm will be the same individual that will bring you out of that storm as well. We just got to trust. We have to speak life. As the word said, death and life is in the power of the tongue. A lot of times we speak things into an existence. There have been some times of some things that I have said, and when it took place, I had to go back and reflect. And I realized, if nothing else, I spoke that into an existence. I oftentimes share a testimony and share a story about when I was a little girl. And when I was a little girl, my grandmother used to say to me, You ain't nothing and you'll never be anything. And I really believed that for a while. She told me all I was going to do is lay on my back and have babies. By the time I was 24, I had 4 children. Now, do I blame her? No, I still take responsibility and accountability for my own actions. But see how sometimes we can speak some things or we can say things and people can believe it. They want to hold on to it. And then all of a sudden that thing manifests. But I'm going to take a quick break and I'll be right back. This is Mercy Seat. I am YaNi'YAH, and we will be right back after this message.
Great day. It's your girl Asada here to introduce a new female solution show called Asada Says. That's right. Every month we're going to talk about everything I am, from cryptocurrency and financial security to good health and parenting strategies. Come on and talk with me every Tuesday morning from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. And let's do that thing the way Asada says it should be done. See you then. Peace, right here on the Female Solution.
Literacy is freedom, and we have a literacy crisis. Children should learn to read from pre-K to 3rd grade. They should practice reading from 4th to 6th grade, and they should read to learn beginning in 7th grade and continuing through 4th grade. This video is sponsored by Rico Nance and Chemistry Steak and Brunch House in Hyde Park, Chicago.
The earth is in the process of transformation. A separation, such as when a cell divides. Half will remain in the 3rd dimension, the old earth, where there is conflict and violence. The other half will ascend to the 5th dimension, the new earth, where no negativity can exist. All across the world, there are internet content creators that are sharing new information to raise your consciousness and prepare you to ascend to the new earth. Join me, Naima Latif, every Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Time, and we will introduce to you these voices of enlightenment.
Hello and welcome back. Again, this is Mercy Seat. I am your host, YaNi'YAH, and we're back and we're talking about the storms in our lives. And one of the things that I really, 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 truly like to hold on to right before I went to commercial and was talking about how we're dealing with our storms on a day-to-day basis and how we have the power and the authority to speak over our lives. To be a living witness, I've had a very, very, very major storm in my life that I'm still going through. I'm going through that storm as I'm speaking to you. And I am so honored and grateful that I can still have joy. I can still smile. I can still wake up and feel good about myself. I can continuously press forward in my life in spite of the indifferences, in spite of the challenges, in spite of the warfare. I am still able to function. And I remember I did a 3-day, I went on a 3-day sabbatical. And when I went on the 3-day sabbatical, the 3rd day, I woke up. My son woke me up. It was about 1-something in the morning, and my son woke me up out of my sleep. And I was very upset with him that he woke me up, because as I was dreaming, I was writing my dreams, and my dreams, they were coming, and they were representing something, and I was putting it together and just really praying on it and thinking about it. But anyway, I told him, I said, you woke me up, son. Look, we could talk a little later. And I went to go back to sleep and could not for the life of me go back to sleep. And so I called my son back. I said, well, since I can't sleep, you're going to talk to me. We're going to talk since you interrupted my sleep. So as we talked, he then turned around. He said, Mama, he said, pray. So I started praying. Right after I prayed, he started praying. And when we got done, when I tell you I immediately fell asleep, I went to sleep just like that. And then the Father revealed to me that I had fear in my heart. And so once I was able to recognize that, I immediately went into a wailing and I started crying out to the Most High. And I started letting him know I didn't want to carry that. I didn't want to live in fear, that I trusted him to keep me. I trusted him that I would be able to go day after day and still be in my right mind, that I would not allow anything to break me down, because I know what it's like to have been in depression. I know what it was like to get in my bed and curl up in a fetus position and cry and not want to face the world because I was hurting. So I never wanted to go through that again. And so as I wailed out and I cried out to him, and he allowed me to reveal that, I gave that over to him immediately. And from that day to this, after recognizing my fear, I was able to cast that thing out. And I'm no longer living in fear. I didn't even realize that I was at the thoughts. Let me tell you something. The things that you think, even sometimes you may not even say stuff out of your mouth. The things that you think can be those things that are so heavy. And what does the enemy want to attack? He wants to attack the mind. So when we think about the disciples, what were their thoughts? Their thoughts were, we're going to die. Their thoughts is, hey, you're not doing anything. Where are you? Why aren't you helping us in this time? But then later, they said, what matter of a man is this, that is able to speak to the sea? What in the world is it that who has this power to be able to eliminate something just like that? We want to be able to know and understand that we have that power. You have that power to speak to your situation. You have the authority because the Father has given it to us. So whatever it is that you're going through in your life right now, you are able to speak to it. Many people say, we're going through and we're going to be going through, and you got to know and understand that, hey, things is going to happen. And we want to support one another. But in supporting one another, do we really encourage to say, girl, you could do this? If our children are in school, right? Matter of fact, I use another real life situation. I had a little girl during the time I was doing Uber. And so young lady gets in my car and she was talking about her math class. And she was saying how hard it was. And I shared with her, I said, can I share this with you? And she was like, yes. I said, I want you to know and understand. It's not that it's hard, it's unfamiliar to you. Because if I ask anybody right now, what is 2 + 2? Immediately you could say 4. If I ask you, what is your name? You can immediately tell me your name. If I ask you something about, I don't know about anybody else, it might be some, you might be a good math person, but if I ask you about a math problem in calculus, you'll be like, that, man, I was horrible at math. I wasn't horrible in math. I like math. But you may say, I was horrible in math. I don't get it. And I barely passed my math class. But it wasn't that it was hard. It just wasn't something that clicked. It wasn't something that you was familiar with. And definitely if it was something you didn't like, that would make it complicated. And it's not because it was hard. It was because it wasn't something that you wanted to put yourself into. You know how some individuals with jobs, they get a job and they say, man, I could do that job with my eyes closed. Well, at one particular time in your life, you didn't know that job. You didn't have the experience in that job, but you started working it. It became something that you really enjoyed doing. It became something that you say, this is what I wanted to make a career out of. And because of that, you put everything that you had into it. But let me tell you guys, that's the same thing you have to do with the storms in your life. Give it your all. Know how to pray. And if you need, put yourself in a place and position that you sweat blood like the Messiah did. But you call on the Most High and you trust him. And you believe and you know that no matter what, I can come out of this. I can make it. I can do this. So think about a storm you are facing right now. When you trust the Most High, you stop speaking defeat and you begin speaking faith. So instead of magnifying the storm, you magnify the one who controls the storm. When you get to that place in your life, you then look at it and you say, because you have an understanding, right? Storms reveal what is inside of us. That storm is either telling us that we have faith, or that storm is telling us that we don't. In Luke 6:45, it says, for of the abundance of the heart, his mouth speaketh. What is being spoken? Because if I sat back and I told you, oh, you can't do that. If you don't say it to me, you might say it to somebody else. Why would she say that? Why would she tell me that I couldn't do it? Why would you even want to tell somebody that? Right? That would be the mindset. The mindset is, I think that was a very cruel thing to tell somebody. So my question would be, why would you do it to yourself? Why would you speak defeat upon yourself? Whatever it is that you're going through in life right now, you have to trust and believe that you can come out of it. Because if the word says that we could do all things, then why are we limiting ourselves? Proverbs 17:3 says, the fining pot is for silver, and the furnace for gold, but the Lord trieth the hearts. If the Father is trying your heart right now, if you're at the testing of time in your life right now, and let's think about it like being you studied hard. Let's think about this. We're in class. You studied hard. You went over. You read everything. You made sure that you took the best notes. You made sure that in the midnight hours, before you would go and close your eyes, you were studying, you was reading, because you wanted to make sure you passed that test. That's what we have to do when it comes to our life storms. We study the word. We learn the outcomes. We read the testimonies of others. And we believe that the very same thing that they were able to do, that we're able to do it as well. We want to be able to say, my character is going to reveal that I trust you no matter what. The disciples had witnessed miracles, yet when the storm arose, fear became louder than their faith. So is your storm louder than your faith? Are you at a place and a point in your life that whatever it is that is going on, that your situation is louder than your prayers? That your situation is louder than what the Most High is able to do? What is it that needs to happen for us to really, truly get it? For us to be able to say, you know what? I'm not allowing myself to not be able to overcome no matter what is going on in my life, because I am an achiever. I am able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that I can think or imagine. Or are we just going to continue to allow those things to just be cliches instead of truth? Are we going to allow it to be to that point where we say, I can do all things and mean that? Are we going to say, if the Father said I can do it, I can do it? So what storm have you experienced that you can reflect on? And when you reflect on that experience in your life, when you go back and you say, dang, I remember when I lost my job and I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent. I didn't know how I was going to pay my bills. But the Father showed up and showed out. The Father sent someone to me, or I ended up being able to get another job and to talk to my landlord to say, hey, I can do this, and making arrangements. That's the Father showing up. So we reflect back to that. Can we reflect back to that and say, if he delivered me, if he got me out of that situation then, he could get me out of this situation now? Is that I've heard of people who would share their testimonies, and they talked about how they ended up finding out they had cancer. And I know one lady that stated, she said, I refuse to claim that to take my life. I acknowledge that it exists, because we have to acknowledge that the situation exists. Because if we don't acknowledge that it exists, then what are you praying for? You can't be praying something away that you don't even believe it. What's the sense? It's almost like saying, I'm going to eat, but there's no food. But if we can look back, I'm going to finish that. And so she did the things that was needed to be done. And then after a while, and you all may even know someone who has experienced this, but then after a while, she was cured from cancer. So now she's in the process of doing things, writing and doing a play or a movie or some other things that she's working on. But she was delivered from that because she refused to speak anything but life. She refused to say that she was going out without fighting a good fight. So whatever storm that you have in your life, and whether that storm is a day, whether it is a week, whether it's a month, whether it's a year, or whether it's several years, we have to truly believe and trust that I'm able to speak through my storm and I'm an overcomer. It's very important, ladies, gentlemen. It's very important. It's very important for us to know and understand that if he did it for me once, he'll do it again. But then we have to also ask ourselves, because sometimes we're in storms because we created the storm. Now, if you'd have allowed that little the spin, you know how when you take the plug out of the sink and the water's going down the drain and it just spirals on down. Sometimes we have to ask ourselves, did I create my storm? The storm that I'm in, What part did I play in this thing manifesting in my life? What did I do to cause this storm to rise? See, sometimes we have to take accountability and responsibility. Like I said, and I shared earlier when I talked about my grandma, me ended up having children. No matter what she said, didn't mean I had to live that. Didn't mean that had to happen. So people may speak negatively over your life. Doesn't mean that you have to entertain it. But had I known now what I know now, known then, oh, there was a whole lot of decisions that I would have made differently. There's a whole lot of things I would have done differently. And I'm sure each of us can probably say that. Had I listened to the Spirit when the Spirit was talking to me, you know how we'll say stuff like, something told me? Yeah, Father was warning you then. Father was allowing you to know, don't go over there. Don't deal with that person. Don't do this. Don't do that. But we chose to lean to our own understanding. And because we chose to lean to our own understanding, when the storm came, the first thing we want to do is blame somebody else of why we're in that storm. We can be in a relationship, get into a relationship. We saw all of the red flags. We saw the red flags, the blue flags, the dragon flags, the made up flags. There were so many flags flying in our face until, we just swatted them away because we wanted to do it our way. And then when it came and we became hurt, we became depressed, we started feeling a certain kind of way. Then we wanted to play Adam and Eve. We wanted to blame everybody else but ourselves. We don't want to say, yes, I'm hurt by what this person has done to me, but had I not done this, had I not done that, I would not be in this situation. And then get over it. Literally, get over it. Because if they're not affecting us, being with us, we still allow them to affect us while they're gone. Why? Because we become bitter. We become angry. We become to a place where we're always thinking negative. Some of us even downgrade ourselves. But instead of doing like Adam did, telling the Most High, it's that woman you gave me. Eve, it was the serpent that deceived me. Instead, what should have been is, you know what? I just shouldn't have ate of that fruit. I was wrong, Father. Forgive me for the choices that I made. Because your command, you told me what to do. You told me what not to do. And I chose to do it anyway. I chose to go to that place. I chose to eat this stuff. I chose to entertain these people. Whatever it is that you have done, take responsibility and accountability for your actions. Stop pointing the finger, because then you have 3 more pointing back at you. So that could have been 3 or more other things that you could have done differently that would have prevented that situation. But if nothing else, let us learn from it. Let us learn what we can do better next time. Or to be an encouragement to somebody else to say, you don't want to make the same mistakes that I made. These are not the choices. And the sad part is there are so many individuals that we can talk to, but just don't want to listen. You want to do it your way. Have you been that person? Have you been that person where you question or had to question everything? Have you been that person to say, well, well, I just want to have my own experience. I just want to live my own life. I want to do my own thing. That's like being young. When we were young, we couldn't wait to get out of our mama's and daddy's house. Whether it was single parent mom, single parent dad, or both parents in the household. We couldn't wait till we were grown to do things on our own. And you know what gets me? And when that time come, I really I'm gonna be asking for this interaction. But look, have you ever just something to think about, right? Why did you want to become grown? Why is it that you couldn't wait to get out of your parents' house to do your own thing? Now, some of the things that I've thought about is for some people they couldn't wait because they didn't want to follow the rules. They didn't want the commands and the rules that mom and daddy had, or however it was in your household. You didn't want to follow the rules. Now, I do know that some people were in abusive households, and that's understandable in regards to. But I'm just saying for the norm. I'm just going with the norm. I want to be able to come in when I want to come in. I can't wait till I'm grown because I can drink. I can go out and party. I want to have a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever the case. I don't want to do chores. I don't want the responsibility that my parent or parents want to put on me. I don't want that responsibility. So I can't wait until I'm grown. I can't wait until I get out of here. I'm tired of telling me what to do. I don't want to wash no dishes. I don't want to have to fold the clothes. Why I got to watch my little sister, my little brother? I don't want the responsibilities. But isn't it amazing that once you got to that place of being out on your own, you still have responsibilities? I'd rather be at home washing some dishes and can move around how I need to move around instead of having to face the storms that I have to face in my life. I would want to be able to say, go to school and come home, do my homework, and all I got to do is do that and dinner's on the table. The bills are paid. Everything that needs to be done is done. And I don't have to deal with that. I don't know about nobody else, but honey, if I could go back, I'd rather be a child. And so what I tell most individuals, I say, isn't it funny? Throughout the whole entire Bible, when you speak, Father is always talking to his children. He say, my children. He don't say my grown-ups. But I mean, he talks about the elders and things of that nature. But when he addresses us as his children. And he also said, unless you come as one of these little ones, you won't even inherit the kingdom. So some of us lose the fact of being a child. Being that child is being dependent upon the Most High. Being that child is taking accountability. Now, you have some children, you ask them some things or whatever, and they just lie just for the heck of it, right? But you have those children who say, yes, I did. That's how we should be. Yes, Father, I did. I messed up. I should have listened. I should have paid attention. I should have did it the way you told me to do it. But Father, I did it my way. When the child is getting ready to be disciplined, that child start crying, start pleading and begging. Please, I'm sorry. Some of us, sometimes okay, and so I did it, and what? I'm only human. Okay, get over it. We some of us can have that character and that mindset. But isn't it funny that when something direct happens to us, we want the Father to be there for us. We want the Father to hear us. And that's what it is that we need to do. We need to learn how to take responsibility and accountability and ask the Father to lead us and to guide us. We're in a storm, whatever that storm may be. That storm can be financial, physical, it can be spiritual. But while we're in that storm, speak to it and tell that storm, peace, be still. And rather it becomes an immediate, like it was when the Messiah spoke. See, the one thing about it was, he was obedient. And he had faith. And what we don't do is believe that we can speak to that thing and cause it to be still. That stillness can be how your mind is functioning, your thoughts, how you're navigating through life, how you're viewing the situation. Because just like I told you guys, I'm in a storm right now. But I told that storm, peace, be still. So I continue to navigate because I chose to put on the whole armor of the Most High. I chose for my mind to be protected, my heart to be protected, to be girded up, and to be able to walk and move. You lead me, Father. You guide me. You give me what I need. So I stay in prayer. I stay trusting. I stay reading my word. I stay continuously putting things in place, but not allowing my situation to control me, not allowing my situation to put me on my back or to cause me to be miserable or to cause me to want to point fingers or to have pity party moments. I don't choose those things. I choose to stand strong. I choose to trust him. Just like he said to the disciples, "O thee of little faith." I don't choose to have little faith. I don't even choose to have mustard size faith. I choose to have the harvest of the mustard seed faith. I choose to be able to know without a shadow of a doubt that you are the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. I'm 60 years of age, and I done been through some stuff in my life, but you've always given me a way of escape because you said you would. You've always gave me that comfort that I needed. You always sent somebody into my life that was able to speak into my life. But you also gave me the authority and the power to be able to speak over my own life. And so I encourage you, and I encourage everybody, speak life into yourself. No matter how that storm is raging, no matter what is coming up against you, no matter what somebody has said, no matter what is going on, speak into your life and say, peace, be still. And as I get ready to close out on this part of the segment, I encourage anybody, I encourage you that no matter what's going on, whether it's financially, as I said, whether it's spiritually, as I said, whether it's, I don't care what it is, try it. Stand on it. Because Father said his word will not return unto him void. And if he said it, he mean it. Every promise, other than the promises to come, but every promise that the Father made, Father lived up to his promise. We may break promises. We may be shallow. But the Father, he's the same. So speak over your life. And anybody that is speaking negative to you, tell them thank you. Now, I know you're probably looking at me, you're probably thinking, why would I want to tell them thank you? Thank you. Because that gives you an opportunity to see where your faith really is. Is your faith in the Father, or is your faith in the words of the enemy? because there's either one or the other that is speaking into your life. The spirit of the Most High or the spirit of the adversary. Who's talking to you? Who are you listening to? What are you holding on to? What are you trusting? Do you read the word just because it's there so you can say you read it to sound profound? Are you quoting scriptures just to say that you know a few scriptures? Or are you really trusting everything that word says? Apply it to your lives. I'm a living witness that what you speak will manifest. So what is manifesting in your life? I am YaNi'YAH. This is Mercy C. You can find me here every second and fourth Monday of the month. And we come here to teach the truth. So until next time, make sure you speak to your storm. And that storm will cease. And the only way it won't is if your faith is not there. It wasn't the disciples that said, "Peace be still," because they were worried. It was the Messiah. And when he turned to them, he said, "O ye of little faith." So do you have the faith to trust and believe that your storm can end? Or are you comfortable in it? Whichever way, it's going to exist. Good, bad, ugly, or sad. Again, I'm YaNi'YAH. Thank you for joining me here at Mercy Seat. Please have a good evening. And until next time, speak into your life.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, YaNi'YAH. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, ngiyabonga. Senegal, jaref. Kenya, asante. Israel, toda. Pakistan, shukriya. Afghanistan, tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.